we use these shortcuts basically to identify, to make good decisions basically, right? So social proof is one. What's everyone else doing? I don't want to think about it. I just want to know what is out of 5. Tell me if it's a 4.8, go. Let's go. Let's go there. It's 4.8.
Yep.
I don't have to make the decision.
Sales, marketing, automotive. Jason Harris has done it all. This is the After Hours with Jason podcast. After Hours with Jason podcast is sponsored by DDS Beer Club. Beer specifically crafted for hardworking sales professionals. Find out more at ddsbeerclub.ca.
Thank you so much for taking the time tonight to come out and see me. Brian, Jay, you guys really appreciate it. Super excited to introduce you guys to the audience. In fact, actually, that's where we'll start. If you can, just introduce yourself. Tell them a little bit about who you are and the background so we have some context.
My name is Jay. I come from Sherway Nissan. I've been, running that dealership since 2003. Wow.
Yeah, I know. You say it out loud, right?
Yeah. I've been in the industry for as long as I can remember, since my dad first got Scarborough Nissan in the 80s, and then I just kind of grew up with cars the whole time. Did the tour at NADA for dealer management, and then just been with Nissan for this entire time.
You stuck through the good and the bad and the new.
The good, bad, and the ugly, for sure.
There were a couple of years there that was a little rough.
Especially in the early 2000s, for sure.
What the hell were they making? But hey, that was then. This is now, so we don't have to talk about that. Ryan, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ryan Osten with Gubagoo. We're a leader in communication and commerce solutions for automotive dealerships. Unlike Jay, I haven't spent my whole life in automotive. I actually come from the software industry.
It's okay, we won't hold it against you.
Yeah, but I've been in automotive for now the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like I'm learning something new about the business every day. We're based in Florida, but we have customers throughout North America and the UK and other areas of the world. And yeah, happy to be here.
That's cool. So now you call this home, or you float back and forth when here in Florida?
No, I live in Toronto.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
So our headquarters is in Florida. We actually run a fully remote team for the team that I work with,
Mm-hmm.
which is actually a really interesting dynamic and challenge of running a remote team in 2019. It's a very interesting problem on its own. But I spend most of my time in Toronto.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Every guys, like I said, I really thank you to take your time and come out here and hang out with me tonight. And one of the reasons I really kind of want to bring the two of you guys together, because I think what's so cool is that we have that in dealership experience. The person that's really kind of controlling and molding and pushing those processes. And then that online experience and what you guys are doing from the tech side to really kind of enhance that online experience and help that customer kind of move along. In fact, actually, I think that's probably a great place to start, because you guys are doing some pretty cool stuff right now. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit what you guys are working on.
Sure, yeah. So we're best known, over the last 7 years as a leader in what most people would consider to be live chat for automotive. It's really a communication platform, but I think that the easiest way to understand it is live chat. And over the last year, we've spent a ton of focus on bringing the customer deeper into the deal on the website with live chat communication. So when a customer is inside a chat, they can now calculate a payment. They can value their trade-in, real payment, and see real offers from real lenders, down to the taxes, the doc fees, all that. They can view real rebates and incentives from the OEMs. They can view accessories as well as F&I products. So really allowing them to conveniently build their deal from their couch with the support of a live specialist that's staffed by either Gubagoo, or the dealer is able to communicate with the customer while they're in that process as well and see everything that the customer is doing.
So they're able to use the tool together then.
Yes, exactly. So you can you can see that a customer is building their deal, you would get a notification as the dealer, and you can reach out and chat with that customer in real time while they're building their deal.
And that's pretty cool because I would say a dozen or so other products that are similar out that. But I don't know if any one of them, maybe I'd have to take a look more into it, but ones that are actually where you're actually doing it together.
Yeah.
Most of the ones I've seen have been kind of that self-serving, kind of walk you through it kind of process.
Yeah.
So do you know, is that just you guys or is there others too out there?
There's another one that's trying to do it as well.
Okay.
But for the most part, you're correct. They're all self-serve models.
That's pretty unique, right?
Yeah,
that's a unique feature.
Yeah, and that's really what are coming from the core competency of being a communication platform. We have that expertise, and we actually felt that the car buying process is not the same as much as the industry wants to say it is. Or some people maybe think it's not the same as purchasing something on a book on Amazon or whatever you're buying on Amazon, right? A TV.
Yeah, it's
right?
not the same
It's not
e-commerce
the same.
process.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I mean, it's much more.
So having
more
someone there to
complicated.
assist you through that process is pretty unique.
Yeah, we call it a guided shopping experience, right?
So you guys are currently right now in beta testing in the U.S.
Yep.
And when do we think us dealers up here in Canada are going to start playing with it?
It's hard to say. I think it'll be towards the end of this year.
Okay.
Yep.
I'd like to beta it.
There you go. Look at that.
There you go.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Thanks.
No, we'd love to have you. Would love to have you as one of the first dealers here in Canada.
It's gonna cost some money, isn't it?
For you, Jay, it's free.
Yeah.
Thanks.
We'll put him on the spot right now. Let's just get the whole deal done.
Where do I sign?
Yeah, I happen to bring a contract with me.
Look at that.
Yeah, but
That's cool. That's exciting. I mean, I think that's
It's almost like a concierge.
Mm-hmm.
They help you with that. So
that's a perfect analogy. In fact, actually, that's kind of the advantage of people getting into digital retailing right now. Look, at the end of the day, we're all going to be there. Okay, I look at digital retailing in the same sense of websites. At one point in time, right, not every dealership had a website out there. In fact, we actually had to convince dealerships to actually start a website. And when the first dealerships that did started doing websites, they had a branding opportunity, right? In fact, actually, I remember running print ads saying, guess what? You can shop online now, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Just visit www.so-and-so-and-so, right? Same thing that's going to be happening with digital retailing. Those early adopters are going to get that opportunity, that branding opportunity. At some point in time, everyone's going to have an e-commerce type solution embedded into their website, or that will be their website. We'll see how that goes. But I think those early adopters are going to have some advantages for sure.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how it plays out in terms of what the end result turns out to be. Like, how many consumers are actually going to end up, fully buying a car online.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine that it would be a majority.
No, but we're all going to get closer. It's not necessarily, digital retailing is not all about all the way going to the end of the transaction. It's about allowing the consumer to work with that concierge. In fact, I really like that analogy because that totally makes sense. What that is, it's a concierge, right? Is giving them ability to go through step 3 of 10 steps and then saying, no, I'm good. I can go into the dealership, but then pick up from there and continue that process. Or they go to step 5 or 7, or maybe they go all the way to step 9 and they're just one step away from finishing the entire transaction, but then they decide to go to the dealership and that gives them the ability to pick it up and just continue to run with it.
Yeah. And you know what, I think it comes like a big sort of theme of it is transparency.
Yeah.
So like when you can actually build your deal and you're communicating with someone on the website
In real time.
yeah. You know that what you're doing right now is very, very close to the experience that you're going to have when you come in, and you're not going to have sort of like, I thought I had thought I had this payment because that was what was on the website, or there was some promotion, OEM special or whatever it is, and then I came in and I had a totally different experience from what my expectation was set on the website.
But I think a lot of the problem comes with confusion on what's on the website is basically OEM websites as well. They make things so confusing on their sites that when customers come in and they expect a payment that they get from our OEMs, that they think that we're somehow lying to them,
Misleading them.
misleading them, and it's an uphill battle to explain. No, you have to realize that the OEM website is explaining payments wrong, basically.
So what is the disconnect there? Is it because that deal had a certain amount of that deal that was offered by the OEM had a certain amount of down payment? Was it because of credit when they came in, or what is the typical disconnect?
The disconnect is basically not reading this fine print, right? Where
It really is. They
so
read the
on
fine
the lease
print.
payment,
Yeah.
they say zero down. The fine print says no, you have to pay your freight air taxes up front. Or let's say if they put in some sort of rebate that they're not eligible for, but the consumer thinks that they're eligible for. So it's all of this small little prints and the nuances of what the consumer is looking at that is the disconnect when they come in to get a payment. For the longest time, they actually had wrong payments on a finance because they weren't calculating the finance payments correctly, and this was going on for years and years and years, and finally they got on top of it. Because
Somewhat so, but they're still not freight and PDI,
Yeah,
and
all
then
of
you have
it-
air taxes and other stuff that don't get calculated because it's a nationwide thing, not an Ontario thing.
Yeah, it gets a little confusing at times, right? As well as our biggest beef is with accessories. The accessories, the OEMs will tell you it's this amount of dollars, but when we try to put it in for that amount of dollars, we're losing money because they're not calculating the installation cost fee, or they're not allowing the dealership to I guess we're selling the accessories on their behalf and not having any gross to work with to try to
Yeah.
And
that in.
that's where I see where digital retailing will give the dealer more control of that. Now, accessories, is that a part? Are you guys going to include that in your suite as well?
Absolutely. So there's a step for accessories, and the important thing is on the onboarding with the dealership, you need to make sure that everything's matching up to the dealer's expectations of how they do business, right? So
It's a process match.
exactly,
100%.
Yeah, like so you look at the accessories. Okay, what are your top 4 accessories on these vehicles, and we make sure those are showing up, and make sure the prices are good for you guys. Like that's the kind of thing. But it's not easy. Like it takes a lot of work working together to get these things right. You know, different dealers have different ways.
It's not a plug and play. Like
No.
It's not going to be. A lot of people need to understand that this is not a magic diet pill. All right, you're not going to buy this product, slap it on your website, and immediately start selling cars. There's a process that needs to go to this.
Yeah.
So are you using your own software for calculating these payments, or are you basically using the information from our websites to and rely on our website or the OEM website to calculate these payments?
Yeah, so we use third-party data providers for various different elements within the experience. So with respect to calculating payments, we use a third-party data provider that has the OEM incentives. It would be different in the US than it will be, the provider will be different in Canada than the one in the United States. And sorry, what was your... Yeah, so we're not taking it from a website, but what we do is we load, when we're onboarding a dealership, we load up the payments on your exact vehicles, and we say like, okay, how does this look, right? Some dealers may want, they may have additional discounts that they want actually set out and visible to the consumer. For example, there's examples that we've had where only after the customer enters their personal information can you show an additional discount that the dealer has based on state. So that's in Texas. So the dealer's like, they have a discount pre the customer putting in their contact information. Then after the customer puts in their contact information, they show another discount.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there's all these nuances, but it's just important that you have that communication with the dealership so that you can match it up and make sure that everyone's expectations are set and everything looks good.
Well, and I think that's going to be key. If any of you guys out there are considering to get into digital retailing and sign up with one of the dozen companies out there that are offering the service, is that you really got to make sure that you identify what your process is and make sure that the product is in line with that. You don't want to be buying something that's going to just dictate the process. You need something that's going to change or at least bend a little bit to what the original sales process is in the first place.
You need to put the work into at the dealer level. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to have these people are building deals on the website.
salespeople need to be trained,
That's
managers
right,
need to
or
be trained.
BDC or whatever it is, right? I mean, they all need to be trained.
So that's actually kind of where I want to hear kind of more on your side, Jay. Now you've kind of heard what's coming down the pipelines, and there are similar services out there now that exist. How do you see something like this playing out inside your dealership?
Well, it's interesting that you're interacting with the customer to build a deal and potentially sell a car online, but I still think we're still far away from that based on our on-the rules that we have to sell
Sure.
a car at the dealership, right? And in that e-commerce world, I don't think we're still far away from that still. So I don't know how that is going to play into our environment at the moment, but I like the idea of being their concierge. I'm going to trademark that. Thank you.
Good luck.
Well, it is. It's kind of cool, right? It's a hands-on, very, very transparent kind of process where you get to work with them online, side by side, and kind of build out what this deal is going to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just think about the time impact on the sale that it's going to be. Because now this kind of allows me to structure my deal, or at least structure, let's say, 70% of the deal, 60% of the deal, or even 50% of the deal, right? Before I come into the dealership. And I mean, how does that kind of change? I mean, instead of being a 2 to 3 hour process, I just think this could easily turn into a 45-minute to an hour long process.
Could be.
The other question is, what does that do to your staffing needs?
Yeah,
Because
I agree.
now, instead of one deal taking 3 hours, it takes 45 minutes for a salesperson.
That's the other question is, how do we increase traffic into our showrooms also? So it would be a good problem to have, I think, to have more time for our salespeople to follow up with potential clients or to do some prospecting. But in this day and age, the competition is so fierce. It's just trying to get them into the dealership.
And I think that's a really important part. I mean, look, last year, 2018, first year that the U.S. has ever dipped under 17 million units in sales. I mean, that's a big deal. I mean, we look at 2019, just the Canadian market. Most manufacturers are not expecting increases, and some are actually planning and preparing for decreases in units sold. And if they are talking about increases, they're very, very, very minor. It's just going to continue to get tighter and tighter out there. So, having, it's like, what can a dealership do? How do they differentiate themselves? As the market starts to get tighter, everyone is focusing on that in-market customer. Dollars are increasing. It's funny, I actually see ad dollars increasing. So it's funny that I see numbers dropping, but ad dollars increasing, which just means people are getting more competitive.
Costs more to acquire a customer.
It does cost more to acquire a customer, right? And look, we look at our website. It's still, even today, our website is still, in theory, a horrible converting tool. Like, there's no way thousands and thousands and thousands of unique visitors every single month. I only get 200 or 300 people walk through my door. Like, we're not talking about a great conversion here. How many more people can we push through the door if we really start to change what that experience looks like?
I also think the part of the reason why there's it's challenging to get people in is because we don't train our staff well enough to convert those leads to come in.
100%.
And there has to be a better way to follow up with these customers and make sure that, I'll see more often than not, they'll send maybe 1, maybe 2 emails and then forget about it.
Yep.
And, a lot of times I'll even just ignore emails because I'm too busy and then I forget about it. Like, honest to God, I'll forget about it and I'll come back to it and I'll say, oh, I should call that salesperson because I really want to get a stereo or whatever it is, right? But I think our sales staff right now is just, they don't want to get into a confrontation. They're scared of that.
Sure.
And I think if we can somehow train our staff to better, it's always a training thing, I think, when there has to be a better way to communicate with these potential online customers, I think.
Well, no, you're 100% right. I mean, look, less cars are going to be sold this year. Okay, so if we don't increase your percentage of that pie, then you're just not going to hit target.
No.
So, it comes down to, it's funny. I see more ad dollars going into the system, but I think that's kind of backwards, right? It's like, how many times can I really, bang over the head of a customer that you can lease a Nissan Rogue for $69 a week? Like, enough's enough. How many times can I really repeat that message? I think what we got to start doing is looking internally at our training and our operations and our coaching processes, but then also trying to find ways to differentiate ourselves. That's why when I hear digital retailing, I get excited about it, because I think back of that day when I first started in the industry, and websites, not everybody had them. It was a way to differentiate us from all the other dealerships. And I can see digital retailing doing the exact same thing. But
yeah, and it's like a lot of uncertainty. I mean, like uncertainty around, like, at the time when websites came out, it's probably a similar thing. You're like, okay, how big could this thing kind of be?
People thought it was a fad.
Right.
Yeah. The internet was a fad. It was going to go away.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. But it'll be very interesting. I wish I had a crystal ball to see where it's going to be in 5 years, because it'll be, and these changes happen very slowly over time.
No.
So.
And that's why I think it's cool to hear from the vendor's perspective where you see it coming, and then also from the dealership's perspective, where you see it coming. Jay, what do you see? Have you guys started having that conversation about what does differentiate you from those other dealerships? Has that started to become a conversation yet at the dealership level?
I wish it would be more.
Okay.
We have so many good people, and trying to get that word out is tough. And the only way we can do that is to try to get our reputation management, work on our reputation management, get our reviews up and going, and make sure that we're at least a 4 point whatever versus a 2.5 on Google or Yelp or whatever it is. And we get people that come to our dealerships based on our reviews, because they see, this is how they treat their customers, which is usually respectful.
Now, I heard the new base bar from Google. I don't know if you guys heard this. They put this out there because they see how people are engaging with those business pages. If you maintain a 4.8, okay, between not a 5 but a 4.8, all right, the customer is less likely to deep dive into what your reviews were. I mean, it's just kind of like, it's almost like, oh, they got a 4.8. I just kind of click on in. Anything under a 4.8 to a 4, they're deep diving into those reviews before they click over to the website.
I think it also depends on how many.
I thought that was an interesting stat.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you have a company that has a 4.8 with 10 reviews,
I'm sure a number does probably play on that as well.
So I think if you're like in that 500 to 1,000 reviews and you're maintaining a 4.5, that you're probably have the same conversation as, if there are a lot of people. If you look on Travelocity, is it Travelocity? Or one of those travel sites, you'll see some reviews with like 13,000 reviews, and then you see a 4.5. Like a 4.4 is good enough for me for 13,000 reviewers, right?
Yeah.
But if I look at one that has 100 and 4.4, then I'd look into their reviews as well.
I mean, it's credibility. Like, the less, obviously, if you have a business, any business that has a low amount of customer reviews, you're gonna question, like, okay, how much credibility does this business have? Have they been in business a long time? Like, why do they have so few reviews, right? So
for those companies, when I'm reviewing someone, I'll actually put worst reviews first and read the
well, you want to
reviews.
consume, but I think what it is and I think that's a really important topic to push, is that it's not just what they're saying, but also what the company is responding
for sure
plays a huge role, because consumers are smart. I mean, we want to learn. I mean, you can learn the most. I reread the reviews before I go to the website. In fact, sometimes I'll just read the reviews. I don't even go to the website. It's like, if I'm going to choose a restaurant, I'll read the reviews before I even go. I don't need to go to. It's like, I know that they're a Japanese restaurant. And I read through the reviews. I see what other people are saying. I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll go there.
Yeah, website won't tell you anything for restaurant.
No,
really.
It's not going to give you any information.
No.
Right?
You want social proof.
Yeah, social proof. There we go.
Yeah.
I like that word.
Yeah, so the concept of social proof, there's this book called Influence, It's by Robert Cialdini. It's a very famous sales book, and it goes through like 5 or 7 core attributes to like sales tactics, actually compliance specialists. So these are like tactics that compliance specialists, sales, I'm doing the bunny ears, that the compliance specialists use. Social proof is a huge one, right? We use these shortcuts basically to identify, to make good decisions basically, right? So social proof is one. What's everyone else doing? I don't want to think about it. I just want to know what is out of 5. Tell me if it's a 4.8. Go. Let's go. Let's go there. It's 4.8.
Yep.
I don't have to make the decision, or it's a shortcut to the decision. So, yeah.
When I'm looking for techie stuff like noise canceling headphones,
Sure.
right? I just want the best one, and one that has a lot of reviews, and that's as long as the review is high, I won't even test it out. It's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Are you going to Amazon looking at the reviews?
I just Google.
I do filter on Amazon by reviews. Like I do, because sometimes I'll be I just bought some mic equipment, right? And there's an obscene amount of mic equipment on there. So again, it's just filtered, put it through, the one with the most reviews and the highest average. I'm like, yeah, there you go, that's the product. I'm just gonna stick in that place, right?
Yeah.
Easy one.
So that's a great differentiating factor. How are you guys implementing that and working on that inside your guys' dealership?
With reviews, you mean? We make sure that every single review is good and bad, is responded to immediately. So with all the good ones, I'll thank them for leaving a review, and the bad ones, I'll try to address their concerns.
I think it's important to identify who's responding to these reviews at your place.
That would be me.
See, I think that's really important. You know what I mean?
I agree.
We're coming from the top. Right, that's who's responding to these reviews. So you're responding to them in the level of you're able to make decisions and authority, right?
Yeah.
These aren't predefined responses. These are very candid responses from yourself.
Yes.
The other important point of that is that you, as the owner of the business, you are hyper aware of like what is happening, what your customers are saying about your business. So you're not detached from what's going on sort of on the floor. You're actually seeing what customers are saying. The experience that they're having is really, really important.
And that's a good point, which I saw a lot of feedback and negativity on the way we handle phone calls being dropped and so on. So I've just made a substantial investment in upgrading our phone system from a VoIP to now a PRI, because the VoIP system was just not cutting it for us, even though it was very, very inexpensive. But
so you actually took action on it.
I took
so
action.
You saw
on
what was happening, and that's
enough was enough, and we said, okay, we got to change our phone system because it's costing us business right now.
I think that's a great habit that all general managers, dealer principals can actively get involved in, is because you're collecting information straight from your customer's mouth. And if you start to see a pattern, like what you've done, you identify the pattern, acknowledged it, took action, now it's no longer going to be an issue. And you'll just kind of continue to watch that, right?
And a lot of times these people who leave negative reviews, they just want to be heard and they want a response. Some are looking for something for free, and some are genuinely, they just want to hear back. And I've converted probably 6 or 7 one-star reviews to a 4 or 5, because I addressed their concerns and they were super happy with the way we handled it. And one person actually just recently bought 2 cars from us. So you'll see that on Google review, I think near the top right now. It just happened. So
that's a great point about the flip side of an unhappy customer, is that it's an opportunity to delight that person and make them a customer for life, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, which is what you did there, which is amazing. I love that.
2 thumbs up.
I have a question. So what are you doing to promote customers leaving reviews? So you want to get more reviews. What do you do there?
So we use a vendor that allows us to send a text to their cell phone directly, to follow the link, and they can leave some feedback about the review, about the experience that they have. The hard part is trying to get a process consistently in place where everybody is being asked all the time. Sometimes salespeople forget, or they're lazy, or I don't know what the story is, but it's just a simple question saying, hey, Jason, I appreciate you trusting me with this car purchase. Could you do me a huge favor and leave some feedback about the service you received? And they'll say, yeah, of course. So
Sure.
I'm just going to send it to your cell phone and just follow the link, and that would really help me out. Could you do that for me? I say, sure, everyone's happy.
Well, it's humanizing it, right?
Yeah, but we try to encourage all of our customers to leave a review, and it's using this vendor to do that.
Great, yeah.
It's very cool. But I think that's key, is that with every single differentiating factor or opportunities, is that it really what comes out of that is a process. It's a tool. You guys are using a tool, but the tool is supporting with the process that you're creating at the dealership. And the better you hone that process in, the better the usage of the tool becomes. And I'm sure you guys are seeing the exact same thing on your side as well with live chat.
Yeah, I mean,
It's all about the process.
Listen, like the people, like you said earlier, there's no magic bullet, right?
Yeah.
Silver bullet, whatever. I think that where you get the best results is where you have great technology utilized well, right? So there's very few scenarios out there where a piece of technology or software will produce results in a set it and forget it kind of manner.
Sure.
So, for instance, with live chat is a perfect example. The technology that we provide engages the consumer to get them into a conversation, and we do that using various different strategies, such as presenting a message in the greeter based on the vehicle that they're interested in, which we can detect by their behavior on the website, and that increases the probability that they will start a chat with us.
Sure.
Once they get into a chat, there's tech there that's going to help them have a great experience and convert them into a lead, but there's also a human, right? That human needs to be trained, they need to be nurtured, they need to be supported, they need to have the tools, but I mean, without the human or the dealer who can jump into the chat, that magical experience isn't really going to happen, right? Now, AI is doing more and more, and that's definitely coming into play now. However, we're not at a point yet where delightful magic experience, like customer experiences, are happening. I think without a human involved. Yeah. So. But the best experience that happens within a live chat for us is because we have a method for the dealer to jump into the chat, right? The best experience is the consumer gets into the chat, our operator starts qualifying them, answering their questions at a high level, and then a well-trained dealer jumps into the chat and goes deeper with the customer.
Yes.
About their specific deal, and like building their payment for them, or telling them about the inventory that they have that'll fit their needs right now, or whatever it is, right? Something deeper at a more detailed level. That is the best chat experience that I have seen to date in automotive.
Well, because it's actually utilizing the tool. A tool is only as good as how well someone utilizes it, right? And I think that's actually probably a good segue into kind of what we can talk about next is, look, from the dealership's perspective, and you know this fully well, is that we invest in a lot of different tools and a lot of different products, but it's how do we really capitalize, the usage of this technology, the uses of these products, to the highest level.
First, you gotta vet the product.
Yeah.
Make sure that it's something that you need. There's I get hundreds of calls.
I know, right? Trying
to get one from Gubagoo and
100 from Gubagoo.
100 from Gubagoo.
No, you've been great. And you could have the best platform for something that will help your dealership, but if you don't have the process to keep it consistent, then it's good money being wasted. There's a couple of vendors that I like. I didn't have buy-in from my staff, and it just didn't work out. So it is what it is.
So the buy-in's important.
Buy-in's very important. You have to have buy-in from your staff, because it's, you live and die by your staff, and if they're not using that product, then there's no point in going with it, right?
Sure.
I think you need to show them the value is like how you get that buy-in. You need to show them not even what the value is, but how this helps them be better at whichever level they're doing, right? How is this going to help me sell more cars? How is this going to help me make more money? How is this going to help me be a better version of myself? Depending on what the tech is, right? That's kind of I think we call it in product, getting to the aha moment. And the aha moment really is not like, oh, I see how this can be a useful tool. It's more, I see how this can make me a better version of myself, or make me sell more, or make me, better at what I do, or whatever, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so that buy-in is key. And I don't know if it's in the dealer world or it's a general human thing, but it's challenging from a vendor perspective sometimes to get the I suppose attention or get that buy-in at the BDC level. I mean, I think it's because everyone's busy, right? We're all very busy, and everyone's trying to push stuff on us. Our email inboxes are blowing up.
Even from a salesperson's perspective or management's perspective, I mean, I have 7 different products or tools I got to use on a daily basis.
Yeah.
I got a DMS system. I got a CRM system. I got a lead management system. All right. Then I have an inventory reporting system. And then I got a deal scheduling system. And then I got it's a lot.
Yeah.
It is a lot to look at. So I agree. I think buy-in is that part, and then once we have that buy-in, obviously, then we can start developing out and building out those processes. Now, the cool thing is you get to be on the vendor side, so you've seen a lot of implementations on a lot of different dealership levels. I'm sure there's probably a pattern to the ones that succeed and work and do well, and then the ones that kind of don't. Have you identified any of those patterns or anything you can kind of share with that?
Yeah, I mean, what I see, and it's kind of a feeling, just thinking about the dealers that are really successful. I think the ones that have internet departments and BDCs and people who are focused on
structure. Structured. Okay.
Yeah. So they're focused on, I wouldn't call it single task, but they have a very focused mandate. Yeah. So, we see those implementations being very successful.
Okay.
And, I would also say this is, again, just a feeling that it's more it's probably a lot to do with the culture at the store, right?
Okay.
So if you build a culture that's about learning and nurturing and growing, then they will flourish, and they will use the strategies that will best make them successful, because that's what they want to do. They're not just trying to get through the day. And that doesn't just go with dealers. It goes with every company, every person, right?
Sure.
If you have a great team, then I think they'll pick it up and they'll use great tools. But the vendor also has to provide really great training so that they enable the dealer. So that means a dedicated account manager. That means proactively reaching out. That means weekly webinars, all those things that can engage the dealer and help them get the most out of whatever software or vendor it is. So
I 100% agree with that. I think it's really important that the vendors are proactive in making sure that whatever they're promoting is actually being used, because it'll come to a point where something which you thought was being used is not being used, and that's when we say, cut it off if you're not going to use it. And it comes to a cost benefit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So a good way to make sure that you're product is being used is engaging with that dealer all the time, making sure, going through reports saying, hey, I noticed that your usage has dropped down. Is there something else that I can help you with this? Is there a report that you need that I can help you understand better? And I think if we can engage the dealer in that way to help them understand that this is actually a tool that you need, it might help the dealer in the long run.
Yeah, I mean, the vendors are just like, we're all, again, I'll bring it back to this, is like, we're all busy, right? Everyone's busy, and I think you have to have empathy for people in other positions and how busy they are, right? And so anything that the vendor can do to make the dealer's life easier by bringing them, spoon feeding them. Exactly.
Well,
right?
I agree. It's not necessarily just about the tool that they provide, but the way they service that tool. That's kind of where we're going. First, be on the vendor side, right? It's how well we service that customer, how well we support that product. Not just the product itself, but also the usage of the product and supporting the dealership in that in those process efforts. I agree with you. I do find that execution of a strategy does work better when there are people that are generally focused, meaning that's kind of their job title. But that's also kind of find sometimes what the unfortunate part is with the Canadian marketplace is that, because of the size of our volume and the size of our dealerships, we end up wearing a lot of different hats. A lot of different hats in some cases. I mean, I can talk to, look at just the receptionist, for example, right? There's not a receptionist out there in a Canadian dealership that just answers phones. Like, that doesn't happen, right? They answer phones, they do licensing, they register in vehicles, they
stock in cars.
It's four or five different hats, right? So it's knowing that going into a Canadian space, I think it's how you're supporting the dealership with the usage of that tool is going to make a big difference. It's I think the fundamental difference between us and the U.S.
Yeah, and it's a different kind of support depending on, some dealers may be like, I can only speak in our case, but they may be like, you know what, I love what you guys are doing, and hopefully they have some feedback on what we're doing. So always, it's certainly a two-way street there, but they might just be like, you know what, I don't have my team just doesn't have the focus available to jump into chats, right? And that's okay. That's fine. You're still going to get the value out of the service, but if you can't do it, you can't do it. And it's about what works for you, I think, and not trying to fit everyone in the box that we think is the best.
Sure.
So, I think that goes for kind of every service or piece of software. Like, it's about what works for you, but the support has to be there. Like, the support has to be there, otherwise it's going to fail.
I mean, Jay, you've used a lot of different products, a lot of different tools over the years. You've probably started to see a pattern of which ones are working and why they're working, and which ones didn't work and why they didn't work. What are some of the things you've noticed?
I think the basic reason why a lot of things fail is execution of the process and proper training of how to use the tool properly. Even if it's, even though we're a CDK dealer, I think we maybe use like just a fraction of what CDK can do. I know a lot of dealerships use 180, but they only use a fraction of what it can do, and that has to do with, how robust that system is, and also how well that vendor can train the people on how to use it.
So is it us, the dealer, or
I think it's a bit of both.
Is it the vendor? Does everyone just kind of need to step up their game here?
I think it's, you can only lead a horse to water. The dealer has to be willing to. It's actually not the dealer. The dealer wants their staff to be properly trained. It's the staff that wants to be trained. And I think that from a vendor's point of view, that the vendor has to be constantly encouraging communication between the vendor and the dealer. And sometimes there's a disconnect where the dealer thinks something is happening, but underneath their staff is not doing what should be done. And I think that if it's something's not being done, then the vendor should go to the dealer and say, hey, I'm trying to get a hold of A, B, and C. Nothing's happening.
You know, I had did a presentation for a new client the other day, and they asked me a really interesting question. It's for the first time I've ever actually had this question asked to me, but they asked me, what do the communications look like? Like, I'm like, that's an incredibly smart question. So I had to ask, obviously, why they asked the question, because it's the first time I've ever read. They're like, what does a communication look like? Like, when we have a question, does it go through you? Does it go through this person? Do you have a support? Like, what is the support ticketing? Like, they were very, very much so interested in that. So I guess, obviously, I've come to find out that a similar thing happened. They got into something thinking this, but actually the vendor was here. And there was just such a huge disconnect in communication efforts or understanding of what the two parties were supposed to provide. There was just a very large, substantial amount of money lost. And I think that's what ends up happening, right? Is that money gets lost, time gets lost, and then I think the consumer actually ends up getting hurt by it as well. So where was I going with
that? I think that comes with just experience of being in business, like those coming up with those questions, right? So that potential client of yours obviously had experiences with mismatched expectations about how communication should work between a vendor and a client, and I think those are you can only get those great questions with time and experience. And I believe, like, I always try and be a great ask great questions is the best thing that you can do. So but to what you were saying, Jay, about using only a small fraction of say CDK or what have you, saying, so like, I know they say with like Microsoft Word or Microsoft or Excel or whatever, only, I think it's 20% of the 20% of the features are used by 80% of the users, right? Meaning most people don't use all the features, right? So, and maybe that's okay, but for the power users, it's there. So,
but you also don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Like, you don't know if they should be. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like, I don't know what's available. I for instance, your Gubagoo platform where the person can jump into the conversation. I don't know how that's being utilized at all. I know when I get a Facebook chat with Gubagoo, I'll see the text going in, and then I might jump in with one, and I say, well, did I just cut off the communication with Gubagoo? And
yeah, you will.
Yeah, so and then I have to continue with that conversation, right? So
we call that a dealer takeover. And
I wanted them to take over for me again.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to go to bed.
So that's interesting, and we don't know that, but we may not do anything with it because most dealers are like, it'll create a lot of confusion or whatever. For sure. But you have to figure that one out on your own, I guess. The great thing, though, is you could respond to the customer the next day. It's okay.
Yeah.
Because it's Facebook, so.
That's Facebook.
But
it's, again, it's what we don't know what we don't know. And, sometimes I would like to see some of the features. I say, oh, wow, that would actually work well with our process. But I didn't know that was there.
So how do you suggest that vendors best communicate that to you?
I think if you do like a monthly webinar on like, for instance, Apple does a great job. They have their workshops, and they have them set out every day at different workshops on how to use iPhoto or GarageBand or whatever it is, and people just drop in and do that. I'm sure you can do that in a webinar as well, where we're busy, but if we schedule a webinar for that day on what the new features of this platform can do, then I'd probably jump on it for half an hour, and hey, that might work, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And I think that's not a bad idea. A little State of the Union kind of address, to just all clients of what you guys are working on and what we're doing. Heck, I could see us doing that. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
so we do it every Wednesday, but I'm thinking that it's not effectively communicated to everybody. It's just going through my head right now. I
see weekly webinars from, I think it's Driving Sales, and the sponsor person would be Gubagoo or something. But I don't know if that is a Gubagoo something.
Yeah.
Or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or if it's actually, them talking about a certain aspect of digital marketing and it's just
We're the sponsor.
And you're this.
No, so we actually host our own, like,
See, I
for
didn't
our
know
customers. Exactly, you don't know, and that's the problem. That's on us.
See, that's cool.
That's on us that you don't know. So
See, look,
that's like a nugget.
we're fixing this right here on the podcast.
Bridging.
But no, I think
gaps.
these are really good conversations had, and I'm actually glad that this is playing out right now in real time because there are so many dealers out there and so many vendors out there that can relate exactly what's going on right now, and hopefully you guys are taking a look at this and you're consuming this and you're going, okay, you know what, maybe this is something I need to also address. It's just, how am I communicating? How often? What's the frequency?
Yeah.
And what's that method? Is it being completely clear that this message is not a sales message, that it's more of a State of the Union type thing?
Sure.
So you guys are doing
it's an education. You want to
so you're doing it every Wednesday. So
Yep.
what is it like for you guys on a Wednesday?
Yeah, so on a Wednesday, what we do is
Webinar Wednesdays.
Webinar Wednesdays. Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
I think
a
maybe it's the
genius.
word webinar or something like that. I don't know. Does that not seem to me, when I hear that word, it just kind of implies that it's a sell?
No,
Presentation?
not necessarily.
No?
I would
Okay.
think it's more of a
Seminar.
educational
Yeah.
thing.
Does it?
For
Okay.
me.
Does it imply that it's an okay.
No, I wouldn't think.
No,
of it
but I
as
think
sales.
it's but for you, it's for you. Whatever's for you.
Yeah.
Like, he's not you. I'm not you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm you.
That's true, JU. I had to put context to that because we're all sitting here
great.
laughing, and no one
That was
at
very
home
quick-witted.
listening.
I love that.
No
yeah.
one at home listening actually knows what we're saying. So.
Yeah. So.
Jay's last name is Yu, just for you guys who didn't get that.
It's an inside joke that is no longer an inside joke.
So yeah, in terms of what we do, but I was saying, like, but that's another really good, like, that's your experience. So you feel, and that's okay. That's your, that's based on your personal experience of the past. You associate webinars with sales type thing.
Yeah.
Right? So what we do is we go through a brief overview of what the product does and all of our sort of like benefits. And then we dive into our actual dealer-facing application.
Is this the same message every week, or is it a different message weekly?
It's the same every week.
So,
Yeah, except it would just get updated with new features, but it's the same every week. So,
So is it targeted towards your existing customers or potential customers?
only existing customers can attend.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, anyone could, I guess, attend, but yeah, it's targeted towards our existing customers.
Like
yeah.
even if I were to miss that, if I could get a link to watch at a future date, that would, probably be something I'd probably save on my thing and just watch when I can, instead of being tied to, I got to be on this webinar, because we all get busy during the day. And
Sure. Yeah, makes sense. And there's probably so many dealers like yourself that would like to, see that.
or even somehow download it on a podcast, or what do you call it?
I can see the advantage why vendors could actually utilize podcasts for their existing customers, not necessarily for the acquisition, but just for existing. It's just putting out that, because honestly, that's good point for me and you. I bet we both kind of consume a lot of audio just with being at the dealership, and then our travel back and forth between the dealership, and I don't know. I don't get much time to consume much more content than in an audio type format. I don't really have enough time to sit there and watch a video. But if one of my vendors had a 15-minute, what's new, what's going on, what's hot with us, I could easily subscribe to that and listen to that on my way home, stuff like that. Hell, even I got my gears running right now. I'm like, maybe I should do another one of these and just.
It's a podcast network. You're gonna have
I'm trademarking this too.
Okay, there we go.
I'm trademarking everything that we've spoken about.
Well, cool, guys. I actually think that's a wonderful place for us to stop there, and I just wanted to really thank you guys, for your time and coming out here. This was some great content, and I see that there's a lot of value out there for both dealers and vendors, and so much opportunity for all of us to work together, developing out new processes, utilizing new technologies in the most effective way we possibly can. So for everyone out there that would like to connect with you and don't know how to connect with you, how can they connect with you, Ryan?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn, Ryan Osten. I'm not even sure what my Twitter handle is. Or you can go to Gubagoo.com and learn about the company and see what's up there. Yeah, LinkedIn, if you want to reach out to me directly, is the best.
Cool. Right.
Yeah.
On. Jay?
You can always email me directly at jayyoo@sherwaynissan.com, or just come visit me at the dealership and grab a coffee or something.
That's cool. Hey, guys, thanks again so much. I really appreciate you guys' time. Thanks for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks so
awesome
much,
jamming with
Jason.
ya.
Yeah, thank you.